Hello and welcome to Factual Insider, the channel that strives to cover as many facts as possible. Today we will be discussing 10 facts about Sonic the Fighters that you may not know. If you find any of the facts to be interesting, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. Please be aware that this video may contain spoilers, so you have been warned. With that being said, let's get started. Number 1. Dr. Robotnik, or more commonly known in modern times as Dr. Eggman, has always been known as the main antagonist in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise since its beginnings in 1991. Of course, returning once again in the second arcade entry of the Blue Hedgehog after Sega Sonic the Hedgehog released in Japan back in 1993. Fans would once again have to go after the evil madman. Fans in North America may have noticed that during the opening of the game, Dr. Robotnik's name is misspelled, missing the letter K in his name. However, once the player would reach the final battle against Dr. Robotnik, it would display his name as Dr. Eggman instead. Before Sega and Sonic Team would keep Dr. Eggman as a consistent name for the franchise starting with the original Sonic Adventure. Please be sure to check out our other video 15 interesting facts about Sonic the Hedgehog you may not know for extra detail. Number 2. Honey the Cat, believe it or not, was a scrapped character from the roster of fighters for Sonic the Fighters from the final release of the game due to unknown reasons. It wasn't until November 28, 2012 that Sonic the Fighters would get a port released onto the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 that Sega would decide to reintroduce the character as a playable character for the game. In order for the player to select Honey the Cat at the player select screen, the cursor has to be selected over Amy and then press the start button on either the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3 to select Honey the Cat. Number 3. When players are at the character select screen for Sonic the Fighters, it's easy to pass over a few reused resources from past Sonic entries. Released in North America in November 1995, Sega would release Sonic Drift 2 for the Game Gear despite the original Sonic Drift not getting a Western release. Interestingly, the artwork used for Amy, Fang and Knuckles for Sonic Drift 2 were actually reused for the character select screen in Sonic the Fighters. Number 4. During early development of Sonic the Fighters, Sega was considering a release of Sonic the Fighters for the Sega Saturn, targeting a release date in late 1996. During E3 of 1996, a Squaresoft representative, before Squaresoft would be more commonly known today as Square Enix, was given a private demonstration of Sega's development software for the Saturn. The Squaresoft employee would later confirm to the press that he was shown a Saturn port of Sonic the Fighters. Unfortunately, Sonic the Fighters would not get a release for the Saturn, as Yojiro Ogawa from Sonic Team stated that the port was never released due to the Saturn port being unable to capture the same experience as the original arcade release despite being originally developed by AM2. He believed that the release of Sonic the Fighters into the Sonic Gems Collection compilation in 2005 was able to successfully mimic the same experience as its arcade counterpart. Number 5. Sonic the Fighters became available to most Sonic fans through the Sonic Gems Collection release despite having a North American release in 1996. However, in the Western arcade releases of Sonic the Fighters, the game would go under the name Sonic Championship despite being called Sonic the Fighters in Japan. Sega would decide to keep the original Japanese name of Sonic the Fighters in future Western releases and would ditch its alternative title, Sonic Championship. Number 6. UFO machines are easily recognizable among children and arcade-goers alike for the collectible prizes and its notorious claw. In Japan, fans of Sonic the Fighters had an opportunity to collect prizes themed off of the game. In Japanese arcades, arcade-goers had the opportunity of collecting 10 different plush dolls themed off the characters, which were Sonic, Amy, Tails, Knuckles, Espio, Bark, Beam, Fang, Metal Sonic and Dr. Eggman. Of course, these plush dolls were also used to help promote Sonic the Fighters in the arcade. These plush dolls today are considered very rare and collectible. Number 7. On October 29, 2012, Disney would release the film Wreck-It Ralph into the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood and then into other movie theaters on November 2, 2012. The film of course showed many video game references which many viewers enjoyed and showed multiple appearances and references of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. In the film, viewers can see near the start of the film a glimpse of a Sonic the Fighters arcade cabinet in the arcade using its Western release name, Sonic Championship. Number 8. Many Sega fans will usually include the game Shenmue as one of the best entries onto the Sega Dreamcast, but did you know that the game would include a few references of Sonic the Fighters? Released in North America on November 8, 2000, Sega released Shenmue onto the Dreamcast and was also developed by AM2, which was also the same developer for Sonic the Fighters. In Shenmue, players can collect capsule figurines of Sonic characters, and on the dispenser, it will show artwork from Sonic the Fighters, and players can also collect figurines of Sonic characters which were exclusive to Sonic the Fighters, which were Bean and Bark. These characters and the artwork from Sonic the Fighters were most likely placed into Shenmue due to both games sharing the same developer, AM2. Number 9. In the original Sonic the Hedgehog released back in 1991, the Chaos Emeralds were introduced alongside the Blue Blur. Fans may remember that there were only 6 Chaos Emeralds in the game, and the 7th Emerald would be introduced in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which was released a year later in 1992. In Sonic the Fighters, there are 8 Chaos Emeralds instead of 7 to help fit the 8 playable characters within the game story. Fans may remember that in order to take the rocket to fight Metal Sonic and Dr. Robotnik, 8 emeralds are required to power the rocket, and in order to obtain all 8 Chaos Emeralds, the player must defeat all 8 playable characters in Sonic the Fighters. The game is so far the only Sonic title to feature 8 Chaos Emeralds instead of 7. Number 10. On September 24, 2021, Sega released the game Lost Judgment, which is a part of the Yakuza franchise, onto the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S, with a later release onto Amazon Luna on March 31, 2022. The Yakuza series has been known to feature playable Sega arcade games in its previous entries, and of course with Lost Judgment, the trend still continues. Found within Club Sega in Lost Judgment, players can find multiple playable arcade games which include Virtua Fighter 5, Space Harrier, Fighting Vipers, and of course, Sonic the Fighters. Well, there you have it. Those were 10 facts about Sonic the Fighters that you may not know. Hope that the video was enjoyable and entertaining. You are encouraged to watch our other videos about more facts about other Sonic games, along with our other videos about more facts about gaming. See you next time.